Hi there, I'm Michelle Engel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I used to be a special education teacher, absolutely loved that, and I loved working with the kids. But I wanted to do more. I wanted to do more with the families of those children who were struggling in school. And so I decided to create my own company called Insight Ed. And so now I get to teach on various topics and really support and work through the education system with families who have kids who are struggling in school. In this way, I get to make my insight your insight. So thanks again for joining me. Today we're going to talk a little bit about determining progress. So you may have heard words like progress monitoring and interventions. Maybe you've been in some very formal meetings like IEP meetings or 504 meetings, or maybe just real casual meetings with a teacher, parent-teacher conferences, or even emails back and forth. And that teacher has talked about interventions and that she or he may be doing some progress monitoring. So what you're wondering maybe is, how do I know if my child's making progress, especially between report card periods, right? And you should know that. You should be informed. So today we're going to talk about how you can kind of be in the know, and I'm going to back up before we get to progress monitoring and determining that progress, some information that you might want to know kind of as a foundation in going into that. All right, so first of all, really want to know what area your child is struggling in. It may sound kind of silly. Of course you know what area your child's struggling in, but I mean the specific area. So there are interventions and lots of strategies used for various needs, right? So it could be reading, it could be math, it could be behavior, whatever it is. Ask, specifically, what is the area my child is struggling in? For example, if your child's teacher says, all right, your child is struggling in reading, ask, okay, what area of reading? So then, there's 5 basic areas of reading. So there's phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. And just really focusing on that area is really going to help in the future. If your child's teacher is unsure of that area, be politely assertive and asking them to, use their resources or, do some investigation and figure that out. And they have resources such as their special education team, MTSS team, intervention team to really try to figure out what that specific area is. So let's use an example. Let's say we have a 3rd grade girl and she's struggling in reading, and the teacher, through a little investigation, has discovered that this child actually is struggling with phonemic awareness, which is one of the foundational skills of reading. So we're going to move on to like goals and objectives, because you definitely want to have a goal in mind, right? So a goal kind of in the school setting is a realistic target that you and your school would like to see your child attain. I emphasize realistic. You don't want a goal that is way, 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 way up here and not realistic to attain, nor do you want something that's really too easy and isn't really a goal at all. All right. Objectives are they can be kind of written 2 ways. So objectives are things that your child needs to do to attain the goal. So for example, it could be basically the same thing as the goal, but little steps in reaching that final goal. Or it could be other skills that that child needs to master before reaching the goal. Goals and objectives should both be measurable. I like numbers. Make sure that they're measurable in some way so that an outside person could actually come in and look at it and say, oh yeah, this child reached that goal. I can see it. They should also relate directly to the area of struggle. So our little girl with a phonemic awareness issue should have goals and objectives that relate to phonemic awareness. Through a little research, let's say, the teacher found out that, in 1st grade, this child never passed her phonemic awareness assessment. Like, never, got that skill, and then we never tested for that afterwards. So we can look back at that information and help us create some really good solid goals. But first, before we start with writing the goals, we need to know what the baseline is. And so a baseline is just the test or the number, the data, whatever data you have from a reliable source that tells you where the child is performing right now, or when that goal is created. All right. So it is best if the baseline comes from a reliable source that can be measured again and again and again and often. So our third grader, maybe we go back and we have that test. If that test can be used, on an ongoing basis, like weekly, awesome. We can use that same test over and over again. No, you don't want to use the score as your baseline that your child got in first grade. You want to give the test again and have that fresh new data. All right, so after having that information, you're going to talk about the intervention, or you're going to ask about the intervention. An intervention is really teaching a specific skill in addition to classroom instruction. And so there are numerous interventions, tons of them, many fantastic, well-research-based interventions. So go ahead and ask, what is the intervention that is going to be used? Of course, you can use outside interventions too, but communicate this with your child's teacher. Here's our third grader, right? She is having difficulty with phonemic awareness. And so the teacher says, okay, her intervention is we're going to use a program. It's a computer-based program called Aerobics. She'll be on that for 20 minutes, 5 days a week. All right. Notice that the intervention isn't just the thing. It's the program or whatever it is that they're doing for an intervention. It's also the how long, the amount of time, and how often, how many days a week. It's really important to have all that information. Now we've gotten to our progress monitoring. Yay! Okay, so progress monitoring is the monitoring of the test, right? Or another data gathering method that is administered often to evaluate whether or not an intervention is working. Notice I didn't say to evaluate the child. We're really trying to see if this is the right intervention. So progress monitoring should be done no less than every other week, but really weekly is best. Making sure, again, that the progress monitoring tool, whatever it is, the test, matches the area of need. So our third grader, right? Phonemic awareness was the area of need. We used a test to get a baseline. The goals are all written on, having to do with phonemic awareness. We're now using progress monitoring testing that will test phonemic awareness. All right. It is important for you as a parent to keep this information. All right. I have my favorite way of just keeping this information is on a chart. I like numbers. And so I would put the baseline on the bottom, one area, and then the goal on the other. I usually highlight. I actually do these by hand, not on my computer. I highlight the line, okay? And then I would ask the teacher, okay, I want to know what the score is every week. Okay, how can we do that? Be open to, whatever the easiest method is. It might be email, it might be a little note on, a Friday folder or, notebook or whatever. When you get that information, go ahead and keep that and chart that and on your, on your chart, right? So then you have that. Keep a folder or something. If your child is making progress, awesome. Go ahead and celebrate, okay? If you get that number and it's not looking so good, please do not punish your child, okay? It's so natural and normal for this to go up and down a little bit, okay? So just keep that in mind. How do we evaluate whether or not they're making progress, right? If it goes up and down, So what we're going to do is we're going to ask, okay, is this intervention really working? So we have this, we're marking it. Really give it some time. And I would say look at the overall trend for like 6 weeks, okay? So if you see that in 6 weeks, the child is making progress and is, on that line to reach that goal, awesome. All right, celebrate with child, praise the teacher, say thank you. Great. Okay. Keep going with the intervention until you reach the goal, or until progress is stopped. So sometimes, kids will start making progress and then they'll kind of stop working. Okay. You need to be aware of that too. If in the 6 weeks there is regression or no progress or not enough progress, then you need to have a conversation about a different intervention. Okay. Be patient. It might take a little bit of experimentation to find the right intervention. Just, be patient with that process and understand that that you will find something that works. All right. Let's see. All right. So there's a little bit of a catch. Don't forget, schools are underfunded, unfortunately. And so you, as a diligent parent, may have done some research and decided that this is the intervention that'll work for your child, and the school may not have it. Just be open, work with the school, and talk about what options they have. If they have been using an intervention and you've had this conversation that it's not working, explore those options and ask what else they have that might work. If you have the means, you can always look for interventions outside of school. There are great tutoring centers and things like that. The nice bonus to that is that your child isn't missing any school. They're getting extra on top, kind of double the teaching, which is always nice too. So that's it. If you have any questions or want some more help, any comments at all, please contact me. My information is below. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate your time. Have a good night.